One day she was there, the next day she was gone. No announcement, no explanation, no goodbye that the world was allowed to witness. Just gone. Removed from the picture so completely and so quickly that most people who follow Sheikh Hamdan never even notice the absence. Because when a royal family decides someone needs to disappear from the official story, they are very good at making it look like that person was never really there to begin with. But she was there. She was very much there. And what happened to her, the way she was here one day and erased the next, is one of the most painful and least talked about parts of Sheikh Hamdan's entire story. Most people who follow Fazza follow the surface, the photographs, the poetry, the adventures that make his life look like something between a dream and a film. And the surface is genuinely beautiful. He is a man who moves through the world with a kind of grace that is hard to look away from. But the surface has always been managed carefully, deliberately, by a team of people whose entire job is to make sure that what the world sees of the Crown Prince of Dubai is exactly what the Crown Prince of Dubai is supposed to be seen as. Nothing more, nothing less. And the things that do not fit that image, the people who do not fit that image, they disappear quietly, efficiently, without leaving a trace that the public can follow. She was one of those people. She came into Hamdan's life in the way that real things tend to enter a person's life. Not dramatically, not with any sense of announcement, just gradually and then completely. She was not from his world in any official sense. She did not carry a title or a family name that meant anything to the people who manage the business of royal alliances. What she had was something simpler and rarer than any of that. She had a genuine connection with the man underneath the crown, the Hamdan who writes poetry at 2 in the morning, the Hamdan who feels things too deeply to keep them entirely hidden, the Hamdan that the public catches glimpses of in his words but never quite gets to fully see. He let her in. That was the thing that made this different from the arranged relationships and the strategic decisions that have defined so much of his public life. He chose her, not because someone told him to, not because a family meeting decided she was the correct option, because something between them was real, and he recognized it, and he made the choice, privately and quietly, to let it become part of his life. For a person in his position, a person whose entire existence has been shaped by choices made for him rather than by him, that kind of decision carries an enormous amount of weight. She became important, not in a way the world could see, but in the way that actually matters. She was the person he was honest with, the person he did not have to perform for, the person in front of whom the careful management and the composed public face could come down, and he could simply be a man with feelings and questions, and a life that was more complicated than any Instagram post could ever convey. For someone who lives as publicly as Hamdan does, that kind of private honesty is not more small thing. It is everything. And he found it with her. But private honesty and royal reality are two different worlds. And in Hamdan's life, royal reality has always had the final word. The decision to remove her did not come from Hamdan. That is the part that matters. That is the part that explains the overnight nature of it, the suddenness, the completeness, the way it happened, without the gradual unraveling that usually marks the end of something real. When something ends because two people drift apart or fall out of love or simply run out of road, it takes time. It has a shape. You can trace the edges of it and understand how you got from the beginning to the end. But when something ends because a powerful family decides it needs to end, it does not have a shape. It just stops. One day it exists, and the next day it has been removed. and the space where it used to be has already been filled with something more appropriate and more useful. Sheikh Mohammed, Hamdan's father, is a man who has spent his entire career understanding that image is power, that what people believe about you matters as much as what is actually true about you, and a son who was quietly involved with a woman who did not fit the royal plan was a detail that needed to be corrected before it became a problem. So it was corrected. With the speed and the precision that Sheikh Mohammed brings to every decision that affects the future of his family. And she was gone, overnight, from Hamdan's official life, from the carefully curated story of the Crown Prince, from every version of things that the public was ever going to be allowed to see. What Hamdan felt about this has never been said out loud. But it is in the poems, it is always in the poems. The ones written around that period carry a specific kind of loss in them. Not the slow ache of something that faded, but the sharp specific pain of something that was taken. There is a difference between missing someone who left and missing someone who was removed. One has a reason you can hold on to. The other just has an absence where something real used to be. His poems from that time are full of that second kind of missing, the kind without a reason you can accept, the kind that sits in your chest and does not move. She has never spoken publicly about any of this. Of course, she has not. That is part of what happens when you are removed from a story like this. You do not just lose the person, you lose the right to even name what you lost. You carry it privately, without acknowledgement, without, without the basic dignity of having the world understand that something real happened and something real ended, and that the ending was not your choice. She is somewhere living that private loss right now, away from cameras, away from headlines, away from a story that the world knows pieces of without ever knowing her part in it. And Hamdan is still here, still posting, still performing, still showing up to every event and every ceremony and every public moment with the grace that has made him one of the most admired figures in the world. Still writing poetry that millions of people read and feel without knowing exactly who it is about or what it is really saying. Still carrying in his eyes that specific sadness that you cannot manufacture and cannot hide and cannot explain away, no matter how carefully everything around it is managed. She was deleted from his life overnight, but she was not deleted from his heart. Those are two very different things, and anyone who reads his poems carefully enough already knows it. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring you the real story of Sheikh Hamdan, the people in it, the pain behind it, and the truth that the official version was never going to tell you.